Welcome to Kryptic Soulz, the podcast about all things horror. Sit back, relax, and get ready to delve into the dark abyss of things that go bump in the night. And now, here are your hosts, Jeff Scott, Meg Scott, and Dave Bates.
Good evening and welcome to Kryptic Soulz Horror Podcast, Episode 5. I'm Dave.
I'm Jeff.
And tonight we're going to do one for the kids.
Ish.
Sorta, yeah.
Kind of. I mean...
Oh, come on. I almost sounded professional there for a minute.
No, you did sound... It was very good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I give you props for that
No,
one.
no, stop.
No, no more. No, stop. Keep coming. Okay. So this episode, we decided we're going to look back at some of the...
Gateway?
Yeah, I guess you could call it the gateway horror television series that we used to watch, like kind of like kids, you know, like Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon, things of that nature, you know, and then leading into like the TV miniseries that you see that they call horror, but it's really, I mean, come on, none of that was really scary, but you know, like Stephen King's It or any of those 90s miniseries, I guess you could call it, but it's like, But mostly the kid stuff, like a lot of their stuff was kind of dark. Like take Goosebumps, done by R.L. Stine, and a lot of those the books. Like even though they're for young adults, there's some like mature topics in there.
Yeah.
But because it's on television, you can only do so much. So you could just go, boo. You know, like you go around the corner, boo. That's basically what the scare is. There's no real, like, you don't see gore, you don't see anybody, no one dies in it. Like when you ever rewatch those, nobody dies. No, they get scared, something happens, there's a moral to it.
I never made that connection.
Really? I noticed it right away. I'm like, no one dies in this. I'm like,
I mean, I know in the A-Team nobody died.
Well, that's because, you know.
But the kids stuff, yeah.
Well, yeah, no one died in the A-Team. I mean, G.I. Joe, everyone's blowing up and shooting each other with lasers. Nobody dies. And yet these horror, or I should say thriller TV series, no one dies. Like, there's always some moral to it. Like, the even the bully or something, like, gets so scared. He's like, I'm going to change my ways and be good. It's like, really? But that's the stuff, like, we grew up on.
Yeah.
And that all leads to something that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. First, we talked about Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Now, it kind of reminded me of like Tales from the Crypt, where you have all these different stories, or Monsters, and the difference is between Tales from the Crypt, that's on cable, so you can get away with some stuff. But even still, back in those days, Tales from the Crypt was kind of tame. And then you have like Tales from the Dark Side, Twilight Zone. You got the Monsters series that was out. If you remember those, where you had the Monster of the Week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I remember.
Yeah, it came out right after Tales from the Dark Side, I believe. I think that was the doubleheader, and it was just really cool makeup effects, but not really scary. You know, no one really died, or if someone did die, because these are now primetime TV series. They're not for kids, but they're not too bad either. It's just Friday afternoon type stuff.
Some tween stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, and no one dies. Like, you don't see blood, you don't see gore, you don't see anything. They maybe hint at stuff or maybe show a little something, but they never really get into it. And now that leads us up to the topic of this episode. We recently watched the Fear Street trilogy.
Yes.
Which was written by R.L. Stine, the creator of Goosebumps and all those other teen young reader author. And this was done on Netflix. It was a 3-movie episode, completely R-rated.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay.
And it was beautiful.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get into it in you know, as we keep talking about it, but
I'm not saying good or bad, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it was just such a huge, like, when you hear R.L. Stine, you don't think blood and guts, gore, or cursing, or drugs, or even promiscuity, sex, basically. you don't get that.
Lots of sex stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was some stuff in there and some major mature topics.
Oh yeah. Yes.
In this, and it's like, wow. But it was so well done. You don't realize this is an R.L. Stine story that he wrote. And just quick background about Fear Street. It literally was a teenage horror fiction series.
It was what, late 70s or 80s?
1989 that it came out in.
I thought I heard it was earlier.
No, it started in 89 and finished in 95. Series of books, like it was multiple books. Started with,
I think it was like 100 and something.
Yeah, Fear Street, and then it went to Ghosts of Fear Street, created for younger readers, and it's just like Goosebumps books. There was paranormal stuff in it, monsters, aliens, whatever, and would always have a twist ending. Well, he stopped writing it, and then he came back and started doing Fear Street Seniors in 1999. And in the summer of 2005, he brought it back again for a 3-part miniseries called Fear Street Nights. And as of right now, he actually made 80 million copies of Fear Street has been sold because of that. And he even revised the book series in 2014, just updated everything. And now Netflix picked up the books. And you would think, okay, they're just going to make, just like Goosebumps, it's just going to be a little bit, longer, maybe a few extra cool things thrown in there, not a problem. And then they turn around and it's like, yeah, we're going to make this a trilogy, and it's going to be R-rated. And we're like, wait, what? It's like, how can you make a kid's book R-rated?
Oh, no. We're just taking the name and going with it.
In the basic overall story, and adding a whole bunch of other stuff into there. And so... And these were shot back to back, basically. Like they came out.
I think they said over 6 months.
Yeah,
they shot all 3 of them.
I think they released them one a week. So in a when did this come out? This came out in.
It was earlier this year.
Yeah,
I think it might have been in the summer.
Yeah, it was definitely the summer. So I think maybe June or something. Yeah, July. I'm sorry. They all came out in July, but one a week, and. Yeah, these things were just wow. Like, I went into it watching. I'm like, all right, R.L. Stine, let's see what they can do with this. Okay, all right, story's going well. All right, then we're getting up to the good stuff, the killings, and then oh my god.
And then they got a killing.
Yeah, I mean, like they did not hold back on these things. Like, you want to talk about graphic? Like I understand, like. When you see something on cable back in the day in the 90s or whatever, they do press the limit. Like they really touch on that.
Yeah.
You can get away with some stuff. This, it's like, yeah, you could just do whatever you want. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of my favorite kills out of the whole thing. I mean,
well, aside of the one, and
there
were a lot of great ones, but yeah, I think the best one in the whole series was, I think her name was Katie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the old was it bread? Was it bread or meat slicer?
It was the meat slicer.
Okay.
And it but not the typical kind. It was the kind that would do like chunks of meat. Mm-hmm. And it would be like 5 blades or something, and
the julienne cutter,
something like that. And the whole thing has to do with 3 movies. There's a killer in each one. And it's like a supernatural killer, so it has different genres. Like you had a camp, you had the typical slasher. What was the third one? I think the third one.
Well, it didn't take place in Salem, but yeah, witchcraft and
a whole bunch of witchcraft. But I was talking about like the killers and lead into the fact that they were brought back by witchcraft.
Yes,
but it's like different genres put together. Like the Scream style killer, the Jason style killer, and then. It's right there on the tip of my tongue, even though I just watched them. Oh my goodness.
I mean, essentially, it was a pact with the devil. So
yeah, and
so again, like kind of like a witchcrafty thing.
Yeah, and it's like people would be possessed and just go on these killing things, but would actually adopt these type of facades. Like at the summer camp, the dude gets possessed and he puts on a burlap sack type of mask grabs the axe, and you get where this is going. And or later on, a person puts on a skull mask and a hood, and it's like, wow, a la ghost face, and he goes around with a knife. And then you had the prom queen type of one. All right, and I think there were twins too that showed up. And but yeah, one, I think it was the axe killer. No, it was the ghost skull face one. Picks Katie up, puts her on the meat rack thing. And you look at this and going, okay, well, they're going to cut away at the last second, or you're going to see maybe blood splatter on the side, come into camera. Nope. Vroom. You see everything.
You see those chunks come out the other end.
And I was like...
And then when, what was his name? Josh. And then when he finally catches up to find her, I mean, you just see the other side of this machine with just layers of skull.
Yeah. Let's just say I felt like steak after that.
It kind of did.
But, yeah. And
I was probably eating roast beef at the time, so...
Yeah. But when that happened, I knew, I'm like, okay, this is going to be even good. And it got just better.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff through it. But, yeah.
And I was a little nervous in the beginning, because they just redid the whole opening the Scream. Mm-hmm. Killer and all, but I'm glad they changed it up. Like, are they just going to... It is right around the time when Scream came out. It was, what? 94 was the first one?
Oh, the first Scream was...
Not the first Fear Street.
Oh, Fear Street? That came out...
I think that one was 94.
1994. That was the year that the movie was set in.
Okay.
So
even though it was, if let's pretend they're in the same universe, it was 2 years before Scream. But I just didn't want... Like, are they just going to follow that whole format of this movie's going to be just... a knockoff of Scream, so I like that they went and did their own thing.
Yeah, that little
mini
twist ending that they threw in there where they kind of went their own way and all that. And then continued into the second part, which took place in 1978, which was the summer camp. And they kind of go back in time to kind of show you a little bit more of what happened and what led up to 94, using the same kind of characters. And that was what I really liked, is that they used the same people in different characters.
Kind of what they did with American Horror Story.
Exactly.
They made these different stories but kept the same actors. And I was hit or miss with it.
Yeah. I liked it because it kind of showed like that whole family dynamic, because sometimes you look like your dad, or this person will look like their mom or something like that. So I kind of liked that idea.
Yeah, so I mean, without getting too spoilery about it, it is about family and generations and stuff like that, so it only made sense.
Yeah, and two towns, which is hilarious. You got the good side, and then you had the other side of the track type town.
Sunnyvale and Shadyside.
Yeah, just like that. And then, of course, the third one, which took place in 1666, so which went way back, that show you the very origins of everything. So it all tied together. Right at the very end too, like I think it was like there was a quarter left in the last movie, so they jumped ahead to show you the conclusion.
The first movie wrap up.
Yeah, so it like wrapped everything nicely together.
And that, I mean, the point of that movie was to go all the way back and show where it all began. Mm-hmm. But I like the fact that they roughly cut it in half. Because I'm not a huge fan of like period piece movies. Like, anybody I hear from loves The Witch. It bored me. But I'm not into period piece movies that much. Yeah. There's a handful of them. So I wasn't looking forward to seeing a whole movie of that. So then when they switched it up, and I liked how they tied it up real neatly. They just, all right, here's the situation, here's where things hit the fan, and then this is how it ended, and then boom, all right, let's get back to the original storyline.
Exactly.
So I think that saved it.
Draw it out.
Yeah, I was afraid it was going to be 2 hours of that. And once they hit like the midway point, I'm thinking, there's not much more they could do with this.
Exactly. They told it, here it is, this is what's happening, now let's see what happens here.
Yes.
And that's what I liked about the entire series as a whole, is that you think, here's an idea of what's going on. Oh, this person did it, and this is what's going on. No, it's completely different. It's not that at all. It's really this. It's like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't fit together. And then later on, you're realizing, oh, it all fits together. I was completely off. Like, I couldn't even figure it out. Like, I'm thinking, oh, it's just this, and you think it's the typical, like, oh, it's a curse, okay, it's this, and oh, you just have to put the hand back into the grave, and it's all over. no, that has nothing to do with it. It's just
they did it in such a way that you actually wanted to know what the full extent of Sarah's curse was.
exactly like you ask, what does this moss have to do with anything? Like, they never say anything until the end, in the last movie. But you see this stuff and you're like, this has to do with something. Okay, well, it has to do with the witch or something. So it must be her. So that explains it. Her grave's there, and that's obviously where the moss came from. But it's not. They totally twist that. It's like, all right, she's laid to rest finally. Oh, wait, no, this is still... What's going on? But it's just that dynamic of, like, here's this movie that is written by the guy that's supposed to scare kids. It's this night and day back and forth. It's like, oh my god, this...
And that was because I've been doing as much Netflix lately as I am with the other things, with like Prime or Shudder, and I think there might even be another thing I think Tubi. I started watching that. That seems to have some decent horror stuff on it, but so I was kind of out of the loop with Netflix. But then I see popping up online, everybody's talking about Fear Street, and I was like, all right, well, last time I heard this kind of buzz about something, it might actually been Stranger Things. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And then I saw Stine, and I'm like, is that going to be too childlike for me? But some hardcore horror people were saying, like, oh, yeah, you definitely got to check this out. Okay. And yeah, like 20 minutes in, I'm like, okay, this isn't a kid's story.
Yeah, like, I mean, I heard about it coming out. I saw, and it looked good, but I'm like, oh, it's a kid. It's like watching the first two Goosebumps movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were made for kids. It's just fun and all that, but nothing real scary about it. Like, oh, you got Slappy running around. It's like, whatever, dude. You know, the werewolf I thought was really cool, but they made him goofy.
Okay.
Like, he's like, rawr, rawr, but he's like, oh, I'm not doing very well. You know, like, everything in there was all slapstick. I mean, he had Jack Black, for God's sakes, playing a version of L. Ron Stine.
Jack Black and slapstick?
Yeah,
in the same movie?
Go figure, right? But so when I heard about Fear Street, I'm thinking, okay, so it's going to be like that. And then I heard that they're going to make it R-rated. I'm like, but how are you going to turn this into an R-rated? Like, what is going to happen? It's like, nobody dies in R.L. Stine books.
Yeah.
These ones, they do.
And I've never really been a huge reader. Not by choice, I just suck at it. And yeah, I guess as soon as the movie comes out, I dive into that, much to most people's dismay. But like I said, I knew enough about Stine that it was like kid stuff and all. But then more recently, I have heard something about it. They said with these movies, I don't think it was like an adaptation of any of the stories. Like, they took the concept and the name of Fear Street and kind of made an R-rated movie almost in the style.
They kind of did and didn't. Like, the original one was drawn out. There was a lot of story in there, but they only took bits and pieces. Like, okay, the witch idea, okay, let's pull that. Okay, let's take this piece.
Yeah, just a few elements of the stories. But it was never like a direct adaptation from any one story.
No, that's
But again, I would know better because I didn't read it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious now to go back, and I want to read them just to see, like, well, what is the difference? What is, similar? And see, like, are the deaths the same? Is the killing, like, the twist endings, like, what is going on? You know? And I mean, like, with this one, like I said, they really pushed what is the proper word for it? Like, the adult theme I'm talking about. Like, I mean, the whole movies are about a lesbian couple that go through up and downs and stuff with teenagers these days. I'm thinking, wow, that's a very mature subject matter to tackle in this, but it's not like it's in your face type of thing. They do it in a very respectful way about how teenagers would deal with these type of things going on. I thought they did very respectful with that and showed this weird curse that has to do between these two, who are actually, one comes from, what was it, Shady Side, and one comes from Sunny...
I don't know why I'm
I
drawing a
want to say
blank.
Sunnyvale, but I know that's not.
I don't know if it's Sunnyvale or Sunnydale.
I think it's Sunnydale. Or no, yeah, Shady Side and oh my goodness. I'm sitting here staring at my notes too. I'm trying to figure it out.
We are the worst hosts ever.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
Okay, well.
Yeah, Sunnydale is Buffy, so it's completely off. Yeah, it doesn't even say in here. Oh my god, my notes are completely incomplete. This sucks. I should have wrote down the name of the other town. Either way, it's like the sunny side of Shadydale.
Yeah, I know it was Sunny.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's probably Sunnydale or something like that.
It was a very, like with both towns, it was so on the nose, like I loved it.
Exactly.
It was just like, good guy town, bad guy town.
Exactly. And this is where this couple comes from, because it's like almost like the Romeo and Juliet type of thing.
Yeah.
And they come together and, you know, like the parents' reactions to each other and all this and that. And it was just really well done, and it wasn't over the top either. Like, they could have exploited this, but they didn't. They kept it.
Which part? The relationship?
Yeah. And they kept it to the story, you know?
I'd say almost the first half of the first one, it kind of bugged me. I thought it was a little too, like, in your face. Like, they're really pushing, like, we're in this lesbian, you know, we're in love with one another, and everybody's oppressing us. Everyone hates us. And I'm like, oh. Then I reminded myself, this takes place in 94. Yes, that would have been a more common thing. And then, of course, when you go back to the 1600s...
Then you realize, like, oh my god.
Witch!
Exactly.
You kissed the girl, you're evil!
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, it tied into the whole mythology that they set up. And the reason why that person was targeted. Mm-hmm. Nothing to do with the real villain behind everything. It's just, this was, I guess you could call it a scapegoat. To, like, yeah, here it is. This
was
person.
A straight up witch hunt.
Exactly. Like, yeah, we're gonna make her the reason behind everything, and then leave it at that. And it's all her curse and this and that, and then that twist, that big twist that comes in. It's like, oh, really has nothing to do with that whatsoever, except the main guy was in love with that person, and then that happened, and he's not happy about it. And that happens. You know, I mean, it's been out for long enough for us to actually say stuff. But, you know, there might be people out there that, like, originally like us, it's like, well, it's R.L. Stine. Why would I want to watch that anyway? You know, they might not be into it. So,
and I think we're being just vague enough. Like, we didn't flat out say anything. But
exactly. You know,
it's a move nowadays. Most movies, especially thrillers, horrors, and things like that, you kind of expect some kind of twist anyway.
Exactly.
But I didn't really expect a lot of stuff in this.
I know. It's like threw me for a loop. I'm like, hey, wait, what?
And just to backtrack a little, there was something, again, with the opening of the first one, I don't know what, aside of the blatant visuals of it all, and sorry, I'm a sucker for, like, in the mall, like, all the neon lighting and all. Yeah. I just love that. Yeah. But there was something, but then it hit me because I ended up starting to watch it a second time, and I just felt like a real Scream vibe with the score. And then I looked it up only to find out it was the same guy that scored these movies.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I mean, he did a ton of things, but yeah, so I guess that's why the connection, like, he did that and then did this, because I like to be redundant.
Which makes sense, because, I mean, even in the description, they talk about it's like a Scream-esque type story. And even when you go back to the books, they, you know, which came up before Scream, they still had that hack and slash type of feel to it and everything. Like, I mean, Scream wasn't original other than, you know, Wes Craven. It took place during the day, and then a time when we definitely needed that. It was kind of a meta movie about horror movies. So that's the only reason why that kept going. Yeah. With a new one coming out now, continuing the story. And I'm thinking, what more could they possibly do? So I'm very curious about that. But, you know, after seeing something like Fear Street now, I'm thinking, can anything really stack up? I'm like, how far can we push this type of genre? You know? Yeah, just as long as, I mean, it's been this long, so I don't know if it's just, we need a quick cash in, like, here, make another Scream movie, or if somebody actually had
I hate this phrasing, but did somebody actually have something to say?
Yeah.
To continue the story. If that's the case, I'm fine with it. But if it's strictly a cash grab, it's like, all right, just let it go.
Yeah, it's like, let him die. Like, how much more can you put Sydney through, you know? And so, and it's like with any horror movie franchise, when you think about it, like, you know, Friday the 13th, when they get all that stuff sorted out, what's the new movie going to be about? Is it just Jason comes back and same old? Or is there going to be something new? Or, you know, like, what could they possibly do to it to keep it fresh?
Yeah, I'm guessing they're either going to continue with the reboot or just start it all over again. I don't see them actually continuing.
Yeah, I mean
that train wreck anymore.
Yeah,
and I love those movies, but
exactly
they are a train wreck.
If they didn't do that remake with Jared Padalecki, I think it would have been better. Or
that still bothers you, doesn't it?
Oh my god, that bothers me. And the fact the dude is like, you have great nipple placement. I'm like, what?
But I think that really added to just how much of a douche he was.
True, but that just took me out of the moment because, come on.
He was right.
Yeah.
They were stupendous.
But they need to not talk. Shh. This is the part for us now. Shut up.
This is the part where you're getting stabbed.
Yeah.
But then she thinks you are finishing.
Exactly. And
until your body falls over and then exposes the killer behind you.
Exactly. So, but you get that in this one too. I mean, no sex scene with someone dying. I don't remember that.
In '78, I think there was one.
That's right. But yeah, because it was the summer camp one. So anybody that does it gets it.
Yeah, I know there was at least one of those, like a Friday 2 type of murder. What was it? There was something else. Oh, we were talking about you do certain things and you're destined to die. But I think one of my favorite parts of '94 was the unnecessary, I think that when they got to the mall and they came up with their plan and then they all break off in the bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's just the, not gratuitous as far as what they show, but it just seemed out of place that everybody pairs off in the bathrooms and just gets their freak on a little bit and everything. But then when they came out and afterwards, and Simon was like, he was just like, you guys partied, didn't you? Or something along those lines. Like, he knew that the two girls got it on, and then looked at Josh and Katie or whatever, and was just like, you guys too. And he's just like, so did I. And he was in there all by himself.
Yeah.
I lost my mind on that one. That was
like
wonderful.
Classic, you know?
And then 10 minutes later, right through the Meestleiser.
Exactly. So... But we should actually talk about that too. Like the mall was a huge scene where the whole point of the movie is like someone actually becomes the killer and someone actually becomes the victim, or in this case, the sacrifice. But you don't find out about that later. So the person that's actually pegged, supposedly for seeing the witch, which we find out something else about that later. It's not a threat. Let's say it's more of a hey.
Open your eyes.
Yeah, be careful. So that was the little twist. So I can give that away. That's not a problem. But so the person, they found out, the blood was the reason that these things are being called upon. Like, they're basically ghosts or.
And I really like that too. Like,
I thought that was cool, especially when they take the blood and they put it in the water and they're like, all right, let's make a trap for them in the mall. And they're making these lines to get the killers and lock them in and then try to stop them. And I forget. Yeah, that's right. It all goes to hell.
Yep.
Like it all does. And then I cannot remember. I completely forget how the first one actually ended. Like they stopped it somehow or put a damper on it. That's right.
Sam had to die to stop them.
Right. And then they brought her. I'm not going to give it. Well, yes. Right.
You already
bring
said.
her back. Yeah, they bring her. Like, she dies. They bring her back. But then
they continue enough to throw in a tag.
Yeah.
To lead us into the second one.
Yeah. Well, that's because Sam, if I remember correctly, becomes insane.
Yes.
Like she's possessed with something which we don't know what it is at the time. You think she's the next killer, But then they kind of lead you somewhere else with this, so they have to go find out the past, and then they find out about the summer camp and what happened there, and try to get all these clues. Like, oh, we need to find the hand. Well, where's the hand? Oh, it's buried by the tree. Well, where's the tree now? Actually, you were just there in the middle of the mall. Which I still, to this day, I'm like, why would the mall build a complete mall around the tree? You would tear out
because it was
the
a
tree.
significant part of their history.
Well, I don't know. I don't think so, because I'm like...
Because what it wasn't... I forget. That was a Shady Side Mall, right?
Yeah. It was the Shady Side Mall, and it was the tree was supposed to be the same one from the summer camp, and everything was built over the summer camp in various parts, because I guess it's spread out around the town. So here's this mall with this tree in the middle, but I'm like, why would they do that? Like, normal malls would put the foundation in this and that, and then they have
This
those
wasn't a normal
planners.
mall.
Well,
This was a beautiful neon mall with a 500-year-old tree in it.
I just found it. Yeah, like all of a sudden there's this 500-year-old tree, and it happened to be there, literally a foot in the ground. I'm thinking, okay, that thing is at least a foot off the floor. You're telling me no one bothered to? No.
I liked it.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but I'm like, logically speaking, this is where you deep dive into it, going, but that makes no sense when you think about it. But I mean, story-wise, it all makes sense, but just logically speaking, it's like, why? You transferred the tree into there.
That's
now,
probably why I'm not a developer, because I would absolutely do that.
Yeah. Now if the tree was...
Is there any history to this? All right, we're going to build around it.
But, I mean, it would have made more sense if the tree was outside in the parking lot, and they just built the parking lot around it with this little shrine or something.
No, it had to be the center of the mall built right there.
That's the point I'm making. And, like, the mall could have had some significance with the location, because everything...
Like the Twin Pines Mall?
Something like that, yeah. Because, I mean...
the Lone Pine Mall?
Yeah, now. Because, the movie, when you think about it, has to do with location. Here, there, and everything lines up in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been great. Okay, here's the tree. This is where they buried it. This is supposed to be the witch's tree that they hang them from. So I'm like, all right, so yeah, let's put that in the middle of the mall and build around it.
Yeah, but think of the Halloween decoration potential.
Oh, God.
And then when you're done, you take your mannequin witch and you hang Christmas lights on it. In the middle of October, like a normal,
You just leave
business establishment.
Just leave it hanging up, and actually it's the wire wrapped around is actually the light bulbs. You turn them orange for Halloween, then you turn the multicolor for Christmas. It's like, yeah, it's diversible. Put a little hat on her, like, But,
And another thing, well, I guess not really another thing, but out of the three, like, I definitely enjoyed them all. Like I said, I liked 1666 probably the least, again, just because it was dated. It was well done for what it was,
Yeah.
Like, I understand why they did it, and I actually did enjoy what they did. And again, I like that they didn't make the full 2 hours of it.
Exactly. They kept, here it is, done, move on.
Like, yes, I liked it for how, just explained, okay, this is what's been going on all this time. This is why it's been going on. Boom. All right, let's get back to this original storyline. But 78 was, I'm guessing, was probably my favorite of all of them.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that too, that the summer camp was their favorite. And I'm like, I have to agree, I did like that. But there was stuff about the first one I liked too, like the mall itself, I thought was great.
Yeah, the first one was definitely a very close second.
Yeah. So, like, would I ever rewatch these? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they definitely have rewatchability,
And the one thing I especially liked with, what was it, the Nightwing murder from 78.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't think they really do it in a lot of, especially like slasher movies. Like every slasher movie, there's at least a second or two of, here's the killer, reaction, hack, slash. Like this, it was, he came on screen, whack, you're dead. Like there wasn't even that slight hesitation. Like as soon as he was on screen, somebody was immediately dead. Exactly. And I kind of like that. They didn't play it up. And not that that's ever a bad thing in movies, but I like how it was just short and to the point. Like he came in, all right, see this axe? Whoosh, bye-bye head.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I love that about it.
And I thought that was really cool, because you're thinking, oh, that character's going to survive, right? You're like, oh, I love that character. I finally got to know him. Oh, this is going to be great.
Yeah,
Wait,
with
what? Like, it
yeah,
just,
especially because I guess the third one wasn't as slashery or whatever, but yeah, the first two and especially the second one, like there were characters like you would know for 2 minutes, but just enough to be like, all right, well, this person's insignificant. There's no way they're gonna. Oh, there they go.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
like nobody was all
and the best
off
part,
the table.
And the best part, the lead up to it, like, it was short. It was spontaneous. It's like you see the guy running down the aisle in the store. It's like, dude, look out behind you! Look out! You don't even have time to say, wait, what?
Yeah,
It's like,
that's what I mean. It's just instantaneous. He didn't
Yeah.
make any theatrics about it. It's just like, I just came here to kill you.
Exactly.
Like, he
No
didn't
talking.
literally say that. But,
Yeah.
because again, it was a Friday 2 ripoff.
Yeah, he walks to the screen. So I'll be your killer today. On the
Could I
menu,
get you something to drink?
Yeah, on the menu I have this blunt axe. Do you mind if I just jam it into the side of your menu? No worries. No. So, but
And again, and it seems so obvious, but the twist at the end of the second one, like, there's no reason for that to have been a surprise. But I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, wait, how do they get out of it? Oh, that's what. And I almost stood up, 11 o'clock at night, almost stood up in my living room, which is yes. That was wonderful.
Exactly. I mean, the other thing about it too, and we touched on the killers and everything, and it's all supernatural. But the fact that you had the three main ones, you had the witch, you had the axe murderer, and then you had the scream mask. But also there's multiple murderers, because we find out throughout the years there's been multiple killings.
And they
Like,
kind of let you in on it, like, right from the first one. They're like, oh, there's this history, like, every couple years, there's a serial killer.
Yeah.
And with each
And they introduce
movie,
it, like-
they kind of give you a little, like, they focus on one, but they give you a little background on others.
Like, you got, I think, if I remember correctly, it was the little kid. I think you had the one, the princess type of.
Oh, the girl?
Yeah, the girl that goes around with the
Which
switchblade.
that was what, the camp nurse's daughter?
Was it the camp? It was something like that. She became the next killer, and then I think you had the twins, and then you had the milkman. And they don't give you a full backstory on any of them. They give you an idea.
Just to know that you should be creeped out when they're
Yeah.
on screen.
But to me, and the director has actually expressed interest. The director, Lee Janik, I believe was her name, has actually expressed interest in going back and making more movies based on those times, like Harry Rooker, who actually was the milkman, like during the 50s, like what happened there, like how did they stop him, and what happened, like were they, just movies based on those type of things, and just to continue the story, or maybe even go into a different direction with it. Who knows?
Yeah,
And,
that's a spin-off series I would definitely watch. And you know how everything wraps up once you see all three of them. But again, they made those kind of almost throwaway characters interesting enough that, bring it on. I want to see a story on each. They don't even have to be full movies. They could do like an hour, whatever, just on each of those.
An hour and a half movie would be perfect.
Well,
because there's, but like, how does the person get chosen? That would be great. Like, you see, like the milkman coming up, and then all of a sudden it turns. You know what's going to happen, but it's like, what took place? Like, how many people did he kill? What happened?
Yeah, it makes you want to see how it happens.
Exactly. Just to get more backstory. Like, you all have this stuff. Like, you have like I said, the switchblade pageant person. I think that's what it was. She comes.
Okay. Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, so she kills someone, but then she goes on a killing spree. So it's like, okay, well, what's her story? Like, I'd like to know what that is. Like, how did she get picked? Like, did she, not to give anything away, did she spur somebody and then she's chosen that hell? Or, did the milkman, did the milk come late and the person couldn't have their cereal or something? I don't know. Like,
what was their falling down moment?
Exactly. Like, why them, and who were their victims? Like, they're chosen for a certain reason. So it's like, and it's, can't give that away. That's too big of a plot hole. And it's like, and what's the deal with the two towns? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So.
And another one that it pretty much caught me right out of the gate with the second one. Sadie Sink.
Yes.
And I feel like every time I'm on mic, I'm always making a Stranger Things reference, but I am a bit of a fanboy of that. I loved her, like, as Max in Stranger Things. Like, she hooked me very early on. I'm like, I really dig this character and all. So when I saw she was in this, I do want to see her try other things.
Right.
Because as much as I loved the Ziggy character, it was Max. Just 10 years earlier.
I know, right?
And, sorry. But yeah, I loved that character, and I really want to see, the actress. I want to see her do other things too, because I think she might be amazing. Or she could be a one-trick pony, because, like I said, I love those two characters, but they're very similar.
Yeah.
Although I guess she was good in the third one in 1666.
Yeah, I mean...
It wasn't a huge role, but...
True, but even then, like, when you do those period type of things, you change the type of character you're playing. Like, it's more classical than...
Yeah, I was going to say, so it was a different character, but...
Yeah, but even still, you still saw those little quirks type of things. Like, you have to have the same type of character just to show the family relationship and all that, so... And it's funny you mentioned Stranger Things, because I always keep thinking of the mall when I think of Stranger Things and just the 80s in general.
Very neon mall again.
I mean, like, I think that's what I liked about the fact that they went to 78, which isn't that bad, but just the mall in the 90s, I'm thinking, I wish they'd have something in the 80s would be perfect for, like, Fear Street. Like, maybe there were killers they didn't really use, and they could have showed something, or maybe an offshoot of, like, what the main story is. Like, here's these killers for something completely different. That would, I would love to see stuff like that. Like, there's so much. I think that's one of the reasons why I want to go back and read the Fear Street stuff, just to see, like, okay, here's where they took this, and this, but here's all this other stuff. So maybe they can use that, just to see, get an idea of it.
Actually, I believe, I have a friend who also saw the series. But is also a reader too, so I hang around smart people.
Yeah,
but ended up picking up. I think this book was like the first 4 stories, or the first 4 books, or something like that. So I'm gonna have to see if I could borrow that.
That's cool. Yeah,
because it actually, again, this whole thing, even though, like I said, it doesn't seem like a direct adaptation, it's got me enough. I want to check some more stories out.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they're going to re-release the entire series now that these have been out, so they're going to find some way to make money off this,
And I think they're going to have a chunk of mine.
Yeah, and I think R.L. Stine will probably come out with more books. I mean, after this, they'll be like, you know what, maybe I could make it, because he's done adult books, too. He's just never, I think it's under a different pen name, but...
Okay.
I think he did one adult book under R.L. Stine, and... it was a standalone, so it didn't really go anywhere. But, didn't really go anywhere because he's more of the young adults. So he went back to what he knew. So he stayed in that pool. Big fish, small pond. Now instead of trying to be a big fish in small pond, or small fish in a big pond, because
whichever one applies.
Yeah, because there's so many horror writers out there already. It's hard to differentiate yourself. So with something like this. Like, this could be his kickstart into more adult stuff.
Yeah.
Because now he shows, even adults like this type of stuff, but with this added in, a few meat cleavers here and there. Why not? So I kind of enjoyed that. So we'll see where that goes. So do you have any final thoughts about Fear Street at all?
I like them.
Yeah.
They're good movies.
I know. Makes me want to rewatch them again. But then again, I also want to go back and check out. I don't think Are You Alone in the Dark is R.L. Stine. I think that's actually a separate one, if I remember correctly. I'm just going to do a quick look. Are You Afraid of the Dark? In fact, there it is. And actually, it is coming to Netflix. They're actually redoing it.
Okay.
But I don't know if they're doing it. What's the word?
Proper or marketable?
A little bit of both. Like, is it still kid-oriented, or is it more Because it's funny, it's marketed as a horror anthology TV series, but it was produced and distributed by Nickelodeon. You know, Pinwheel and, you know, all these other things, you know.
Yeah, but they know horror. How many times have you woke up in a cold sweat thinking you were going to get slimed in the middle of the night?
Exactly. Oh, here's why. Because it was a Canadian show. That's why it was done well. What was I thinking?
Boo, eh?
Yeah, hey, have you seen a moose? Ah! So
I can't wait for Moose Jaws to be made.
I can wait. So actually, apparently, it premiered in 2019 on Netflix. Revived for a second season, Curse of the Shadows.
Huh.
And apparently premiered last week. This is February, by the way, everybody. Not that I should date it because it took us freaking forever to. We got Friday the 13th. I'm sorry.
That show's got a death curse.
Yeah, actually, it did. Yeah, nowhere is R.L. Stine mentioned in this, so I guess he had nothing to do with it, so it's totally different. But now I'm curious about this.
But as long as it's good, I don't care who wrote it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious to check it out on Netflix to see, is it kid-oriented or is it more adult-esque, you know, at least older, younger adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind anything being like, if it's a little on the lighter end, if it was something that genuinely appealed to like both generations.
Yeah, you know,
like if you have a kid that isn't necessarily into that kind of thing, but can enjoy something like this, but is just hard enough for an adult to enjoy it as well. Like,
yeah, like a gateway drug. You know, get them into it subtly. It's like, oh, you like that stuff? Check this out. Oh, you like that? Good. Let's go to the horror. Let's grow you up a little bit.
Which is kind of funny. I think it was last weekend. I found at the store it was the 5-pack of Final Destination.
Oh, nice.
For $10.
$10. Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm like, you can't get each one for like $10 and all. Of course, like no bonus footage or anything, but
DVD or Blu-ray?
I think it was DVD.
Okay, that's still okay.
But it's still watching the movie because I don't even think I saw the third one.
Really?
I may have, and it's not that I didn't want to. It just for some reason at that point I just didn't continue with them. So I'm like, okay, well now I'm going to do it. But then I figured, yeah, Charlie would probably get a kick out of these as well. Like the whole trying to figure out where it's like the whole. All right, where's Death going to get this person all? So
exactly.
We sat down and watched the first one, and again, I'm happy to say like he enjoyed it. But after the movie, he informs me after watching the first one. He tells me, oh, by the way, it's like we got you should have an email now from my school about payment plans for our flight for our senior trip. I was like,
oh yeah.
Now, luckily, that's in 2 years, but we just watched this movie about a class trip on a plane that doesn't go well, and then when we're done, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to Florida for our class trip. I was. Yeah. Forget about this movie by then.
And whatever you do, don't tell them, maybe you guys should take the bus, because watch number 2, and then we'll talk.
And we did get through the first 2, and I told him, I said, actually, this opening terrorizes anybody with a driver's license.
You know what? Just real quick, I'll tell you this real quick, because I think this is our next episode. We're going to do the Final Destinations, because I think they're coming out with a new one.
No, but they already did The Final Destination.
Well, the whole thing is Final Destination.
No, but this is the Final Destination, so they can't. With a title like that, you can't continue a series.
Sure, you can. I can make a movie called The End, Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Did they ever do a sequel to The End?
Yeah, I think it's called The Other End.
No. I have a feeling it's a completely different movie.
But yeah, real quick, Final Destination freaked the hell out of me. I went to see it in the theater with my brother. We walked out of there, and I'm like, I'm looking around. I'm like, oh God, okay. And I have to drive home. I'm like, okay, all right. Looking around, I'm like, is Death trying to get me now? Like, all right, okay. There's nobody on the road, but they're just out to get me. You know, like it really unnerved me because I kept thinking, I'm like, something as subtle as like, what was it? It was like an attack or something. You step on it, then you fall into this. I mean, the teacher got the worst out of all of them.
What, in the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really, like everyone else, it was either quick or fast.
It was like a slip. It was a Rube Goldberg
She
death.
gets blown to the face. She gets stabbed. She gets blown up. She gets this. She gets that. I'm like,
And then her house explodes.
yeah. And I'm like, why is the teacher the one that gets it? She was the one that was trying to help. And yet everybody else is like, wow. But that's
On top of being guilt-ridden for not being the one on the plane in the first place.
exactly. So it's like, what the? But yeah, we'll talk about the Final Destinations. Actually, yeah, that'll be the next episode, I think, because
Because I definitely want to finish them, and I hear a lot of people say the third one's their favorite.
yeah, actually, I love them all. I love the continuity in all of them. I won't give the last one away because
And from what I hear, they like we always say how too many movies or too many franchises like stray from the formula. From what I hear, they stick to the formula.
yeah, it's all
Throughout.
it's all about the deaths and how creative can they be with it.
Yeah.
like, and they try to keep it realistic. They don't go, oh, the brick fell off the building and did a mousetrap thing, like hit this and it bounced over. Like they set it up in such a way. Okay, if this is set up just right, and this happens, and this person walks here and does this, then the chain of events will trigger. Not something stupid where why would that even be there in the first place? It makes no sense. Like, everything has a purpose. Like, if there's construction going on, it makes sense why. If a person's going down to the store, there's a reason why they're walking past there. Like, everything just fit. And I love the continuity of everything. Like, one movie leads into another, and then you can see what I'm doing, like how the movies will do this, if you see where I'm going with that. So I'm not giving it any way to anybody out there that hasn't seen them, because Meg has never seen them either, and I was surprised by that. So I'm thinking I'm going to get her to watch all of them with me again. You're doing it with
I'll finish it out.
and I think that'll be perfect.
And it kind of relates too, because the more I think about it, I mean, they can get pretty nasty, pretty disturbing and all. But as a whole, I don't think... Like, that could almost be a decent... Like, if you had a kid or just somebody that's not huge into horror, like, that's kind of a good gateway thing, too. It's just scary enough, but it's not something you're going to lose sleep over.
Exactly.
Again, unless the openings of any of them are something that you're frequent with.
Exactly. And you could also tie it in by saying, see, this is why you clean up your room, so this stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah. Because Elf on a Shelf's only going to get you so far, so...
Exactly. So there you go. So we did our Fear Street. We got that out, and now we have the next episode planned out. Is there anything else?
And half recorded.
Well, a good majority of it recorded.
Right.
But yeah, anything else we can think of before we sign off, I think?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. All
I
right.
had a lovely time. So.
I did too, so it was great. And yeah, in case anybody wondering, May couldn't make it either. She's not feeling well, and she does have some homework, so she's doing her stuff. Hopefully the next one she might be able to join us, because obviously we had kind of planned. So, but if not, I'll just reiterate whatever she says. So we'll go there. So
Just make her take thorough notes.
Exactly.
And then work on your impression.
Oh yeah, that'll be. No. So anyways, so I do believe it's my turn to sign off, so I'll go ahead by saying thank you very much for joining us this episode. Hopefully stick with us if you have this long. Obviously, like I said, we got Friday the 13th last time, which we explained last episode. If you have heard that, this one will be out next week, so you're getting 2 for this month, along with something called Kryptic Quickies.
That happened.
So we're going to do that. We won't give you too much about that. Just keep an eye out for that. That should be out actually after we finish recording this. And definitely check out our website, Kryptic Soulz, Kryptic with a K, Souls with a Z.com. You can find all our episodes there. Not like there's a lot of them, but they're there. You can check us out on Spotify, Amazon Music,
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts, like every whatever you listen on. We're on Spotify. Like I said, Spotify. I think we're even on what is the other one I'm thinking of? It's a lot of
like I've said multiple times, there's things coming up on there that I didn't even know existed. They sound made up.
Yeah, like some like I don't even remember applying to that one, but they just pop in there. So,
but if you listen to podcasts, whatever it's on, type in Kryptic Soulz, and there's a 99% chance it's going to pop up.
Exactly. So you'll find us somewhere. So, and with that, say goodnight, Dave.
Good night, Dave.
Again, had to bring it back. Good night, everybody.